we are going to discuss verse 5:18, that is chapter 5, verse 18. That's in page
232.
Right, 232. So, I'll read the Sanskrit, we'll read the translation and purport, then we'll discuss about this. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. So would you like to read the translation aloud?
Sure.
The text in bold.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater.
A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog or a cow and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species, but the differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of the learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as the Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahman, although the body of a Brahman and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna-conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Yena Swayam Rupa Pradanyam Dadati Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sakyam Harijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Srila Ramapal Swami Namne Om Vishnu Hare Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Shunnavadi Paschata Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Lakshmi Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna a transcendentalist or a bhakti yogi who is Krishna conscious sees a learned scholar and a dog eater, meaning an aborigine kind of person, and also he sees the cow, elephant, and the dog equally, right? So think, for example, you want to buy a horse, okay? So you found out where the horses are sold. So you inquired, you went there, and when you went there, you saw a nice horse in front of the store, you saw a very nice hamper put around the horse. What do you call it? The reins and the hamper?
Saddle.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Mm.
And if you buy the horse just by looking at the hamper, is it a wise thing? Generally, how are horses picked? There is a pedigree, right? Like they look at the number of teeth it has, meaning for the age. They can determine the age by that. And also, they inquire about the track record, like what is the breed, who is father, mother, like, what kind of breed they are, and what is their track record, what is the history, and all this stuff. See, a nice hamper may tell about the taste of the owner, but it doesn't tell anything about the horse, right? So, the point here is, there is 8.4 million species of life in the whole cosmic manifestation. The scripture says that there is 8.4 million species of life. And there are 400,000 of Homo sapiens, like human forms. But anyway, generally if you look at the world, there is discrimination based on the glyceral appearances of the forms, right? Such as, I belong to a certain country. Suppose I am an American citizen. If I need to go to Russia, what do I need?
Visa?
What is visa? A formal approval for entry into that country, right? You understand? Similarly, continents, we call people Asians, Americans, right? And red, black, blue, green, yellow, white. And then the subdivisions of that, like male, female, and then some other, and then by profession, and then by power, and then by wealth, and then by fame. There are so many distinctions and discriminations. And all these distinctions or designations are for the bodies. But a transcendentalist knows we are not these bodies. Who are we?
Soul.
The spirit souls. Meaning, this is a gross covering on the soul, and then there is a subtle body made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay? It's the false ego that makes us think which we are not. Meaning, it makes us identify ourselves either with the body or with the mind most of the time. Okay? And then what happens is, the moment we identify ourselves not as a spirit soul, but with this temporary body or mind, what happens is, we want to lord it over the material nature, lord it whatever I can serve it.
Oh, sorry, can you say that part again? What did you just say the last sentence?
Because I am not identifying myself with my true self as a spirit soul. When I identify myself with my body, and then the I and my conceptions come into play. So, my nation, my family, my sons, my daughters, first priority is for that. Right? And then wars, so many wars, so much discrimination, unnecessary discrimination. Okay? All these things happen because of that false identification of oneself. Next. So in India there is a caste system. Have you heard of anybody have heard of that? Like there is an intelligent class called Brahmanas, and then the administrative class called Kshatriyas, and then the mercantile class called Vaishyas, and then the labor class called Shudras. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnam maya srushtam guna karma bhagas. Meaning, depending on one's propensity, the society is divided. I have divided this society into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, meaning the intelligent, administrative, mercantile and labor class. So, what is the slogan of communism? Casteless society. Everyone is equal, right? So we have this wonderful couple from Russia, right?
Yeah.
But do you truly see that everyone is equal there?
Never.
Well, people used to think this.
Yeah, in thinking. But the communism has created two classes. Though its slogan is classless, it has created two classes, such as ruling class and those that are ruled by them, right? Ruling class goes in chaikas and all, and there is the working class is not that rich, right? So there is difference. But what Bhagavad Gita says, not artificially adjusting the differences and saying everyone is equal, by respecting the disposition of the individual soul. Some are inclined towards scholarship, some are inclined towards ruling, administration, some are inclined towards business, and some are helping all those three categories. Go beyond this identification of the body and to the soul. There is the spiritual equality. How is that? As you know, you are not the body, mind and intelligence, but you are owner of all those, but you are a spirit soul, meaning you are the part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. So, in this body, the owner is a spirit soul, as same as in this body, and it goes beyond in every form of life, in the tree, in the insect, in the bird, in the fish, in the beast, there is a soul, individual soul. And that each and individual soul is spirit, not the matter, and which is part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. There, the equality is seen. So, a transcendentalist sees not just the glyceral appearances, but the soul within the bodies. And so what? Why will it be equal? Meaning, the soul has transcendental qualities. Being part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, we inherit the same qualities, but the difference is the Supreme Lord has those qualities in abundance, and we are minute, or quantitatively we are different from Him, but qualitatively we are one. So, like the Christian saying, what's the commandment? What does it say? Love thy neighbor like thyself. I'm your neighbor. I'm mean, pokey, nosy, abusive. How do you love me? Then, is the commandment wrong? It can be. So, what is the meaning? Behind that bad behavior, there is a soul, okay, struggling in this material world, like how I am struggling. Right? So the compassion goes to the soul. You don't have to agree with the bad behavior, but the compassion should go to the soul. Say in Olympics or in elections or in any competition, what is the mindset of the competitor?
To be.
To win, to be number one, right? Not less than that. How many times we have seen when people lose, they'll cry, right? A lot of times. And they feel like so dejected. The whole life is waste. Why can't you appreciate the skill of the other person? Right? The Lord has awarded him or her, such beautiful skill. So why can't I be happy with that? This requires spiritual knowledge. It's not taught in modern schooling from kindergarten to PhD. So then we not only we don't discriminate any human forms, we don't exploit the other living entities such as animals. You see a chicken or cow or something, people see steaks and wings and all that, as they see it as food because lack of spiritual understanding. But here there are 3 animals mentioned. Did you notice that? Cow, and elephant, and a dog. So, why those 3 means? Cow is in mode of goodness, and elephant is in mode of passion, and dog is in mode of ignorance. It's not that the transcendentalist doesn't see the difference of their bodies or behavior, is blind to all these differences. No, that's not the point here. The point is, while seeing the differences, he understands the fact that, there is a soul which is properly utilized and is in mode of goodness, such as Brahmana, and there is another soul which has misappropriated the free will, minute free will, and has gone into the lower species, such as dog or dog eater. But he also sees the super soul or Holy Ghost in Christianity, right? Who resides along with this spirit soul within this body. Okay, so what we are saying is, you have a body, and that's gross one, and then you also have a subtle body that is comprised of mind, intelligence, and false ego. But then you are in the body, that is, you are the spirit soul, but there is also the super soul guiding and sanctioning our desires. Okay? So, does it make both one, the soul and the super soul? No. We are eternally individual. Even each soul is individual, and the Supreme Soul is different. then because he is there in lower species of life also, such as dogs or any insects or elephant, gigantic elephant, does it contaminate the consciousness of the super soul? No. He is aloof from the modes of material nature. Have you heard of these modes? Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. I've noticed sometimes we are so focused, so sharp, so clean. We like clean environment, right? And sometimes we are into the workaholic mode, like I want to do this, I want to achieve this, that. And then sometimes we are procrastinating, like lazy, and sometimes we start to sinful activities also. So each one, the first one is mode of goodness, and this workaholism represents mode of passion, and laziness and sinful tendencies, they represent mode of ignorance. So any activity what we perform is according to the mode of influence. This, whatever the mode, say we have heard like the Boston bombings, or what was the recent one? Florida shooting. A student comes, takes guns and blows up people, right? Just like another student, he was a student, but he went and, so what happened? His intelligence got covered, mode of ignorance became predominant, and he resorted to sinful activities. So, in actuality, the soul is not the doer, but the modes are the doer. So, the modes are the responsible for any actions. Okay? So, our aim is to cultivate mode of goodness, and beyond that, raising above these three modes, cultivate the transcendence through the scriptural knowledge and the process of meditation, what we just practiced, so that we understand fully there is a soul in each body. Like I am in my body, there is a soul, and the soul is spirit, like I am spirit, and we are all part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. So there is the equality. So, and then 13th chapter, Krishna explains, he narrates the qualities, starting with first amanitvam, adambitvam, that is humility and pridelessness. In any of the discrimination, these two, lack of humility and the next one is the pride, that plays a major role, right? Why does one person put down another? Or why does one businessman try to suppress the other?
Because it's a threat to them.
Greed, right? And then look at me. You can't exist. Just I want to buy you whole, right? So that's why Bhagavad Gita teaches higher taste. When you have higher taste, you let go of these petty differences and concentrate on those equalities on the spiritual level. And what is that higher taste? How do you obtain that higher taste? By embracing a spiritual practice, like what we did. Okay? But mind may resist you in the beginning. Mind will resist for everything, am I right? Everything you try to do, mind will say so many objections. And what you don't want to do, it will try to, lure you to do that. But by adapting a spiritual discipline and by educating ourselves through the knowledge of the scriptures, and we can overcome these material conceptions. Material life is not a problem. Material conceptions are the real problem. And those should be replaced by the spiritual conceptions. And that's the purpose of human life, at least. Thank you very much. Any questions, discussions?
I have a comment. So, well, basically you're saying, transcendentalists, I guess, they don't identify with the material bodily
Correct.
concept of
Yeah.
life. They identify with the soul, and they see other people as the soul. And you kind of mentioned that, racism and things like that. And I was thinking about it, and I mean, that makes a lot of sense because, like, a lot of the problems that you see in the news today, it's because people are identifying themselves and others with their, like, bodily, like the material concept. Like, for example, like racism, or
This
sexism.
racism, for example, both the people are equally bad.
Yeah.
You understand that? Not just the perpetrator. The person who is feeling victim is also not, he himself is identifying with body.
Yeah.
So, one example, Srila Prabhupada, when this movement was going on, the founder Acharya was there in this. There was one excellent devotee, his name, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He is a black body devotee who went to preach in Russia. But anyway, wonderful service Maharaj did. But in the beginning, there was prejudice because everyone was new. He faced that prejudice. And he kind of discussed that with Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I'm just paraphrasing, like, how are you different, kind of thing. Yeah, they are ignorant. They are trying to discriminate by looking at your body, but you should know you are not the body. So why should you fall for that discrimination? Did you see?
Yeah.
That's the consciousness. So, when you know your true self, you not only don't discriminate, but when somebody discriminates, you don't get agitated. Isn't that nice?
It seems like a lot of problems would be solved if people stopped identifying with their bodies.
There will be, there may not be race, but there will be, say, if you have a colleague, who wants to suppress, then because he is close to boss. So, like, there are different variations and degrees of this discrimination. But if you know who you are and who is ultimately who is in charge, and what is karma, what do I deserve, and whatever I'm getting, who is giving me. When you have true knowledge about this, we won't get disturbed. Right? Make sense? Any other questions, comments? Do you have anything else?